You know, much of your success as an online business, especially with guitars, will depend on your domain name. The owner of two great guitar domain names has contacted me and he has them for sale. Those two domain names are guitarbuyers.com and cashforguitars.com. Call or email them at the contact information listed on that page, and they will give you 20% off the purchase price. In addition, they'll work with you to make payments if that's what you need. Again, that's guitarbuyers.com and cashforguitars.com. If you want to buy or sell a home or investment property and you're here in the Tampa Bay area, in Hillsborough, Pinellas, or Pasco counties, then listen up. West Florida Real Estate is a local residential real estate broker that's helped over 250 Bay Area homeowners buy and sell their properties in the last 4 years alone. If you're looking to sell, you'll want to get their free report, The 7 Biggest Mistakes Homeowners Make When Hiring a Realtor. And if you're looking to buy a property, you definitely want to get your hands on the 21 Most Expensive Mistakes Tampa Home Buyers Make When Buying a Home. Each one of these reports is going to save you time and money. Inside, you'll discover the 7 most important things to consider when hiring a realtor, what to do if you're buying and selling a home at the same time, and the danger of choosing a realtor who agrees with everything you say. To get your hands on these free reports, head on over to westfloridarealestate.com. That's westfloridarealestate.com. If you're a business owner and you want to increase your cash flow, or if you're a label or artist and you want to promote new music, then listen up. For information about advertising on Everyone Loves Guitar, including information on geographically targeted ads, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, this is Craig. If you like this show and you want to support it and you want to keep it free, head on over to everyonelovesguitar.com/support. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/support. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. I've got a real special guest with me today with Greg Loiacono from Mother Hips. He's got a bunch of solo records out as well and some other projects which we'll talk about. I'm real happy to talk to Greg. That being said, the interview, and we talked about this before, is a little bittersweet because Neil Casal, the late Neil Casal, was kind enough to connect Greg and I. So, maybe think about Neil when you're listening to this. And also, don't forget, subscribe to the show on iTunes, or now you can watch the videos on YouTube. All righty, let me tell you about Greg Loiacono if you haven't heard of him. He's always been, this is funny, man, what we talked about, driven by one unwavering desire to connect. So, which is cool, which is awesome. Whether he's fronting a band, guesting with peers like Phil Lesh or Chris Robinson, or on stage by himself, it's all part of a never-ending quest to generate and celebrate the magic of shared human experience. His journey started at Chico State, where he co-founded the Mother Hips with fellow songwriter Tim Bloom. Before the band had even graduated from school, they were signed to Rick Rubin's American Recordings on the strength of their debut album called Back to the Grotto. Over the next 25 years, they released 9 more albums, cementing their status of architects of a new breed of California rock and roll with influences of the Beach Boys, the band, and Buffalo Springfield. Great band, great guitar stuff in there. In the early 2000s, Greg dipped his toes into solo waters for the first time, releasing a stripped-down, homespun EP titled Purgatory. And during the Mother Hips 2003 hiatus, he launched a new band called Sensations. If you haven't heard that record, we're going to talk about it today. It's awesome. The group's debut album, Listen to My Shapes, was inspired by the concept of, this is only in California, Greg. I'm sorry, dude. I'm from the Bronx.
Just read it.
This wouldn't come up. The group's debut album, Listen to My Shapes, was inspired by the concept of synesthesia, and their live concerts were immersive events meant to stimulate each of the listeners' senses en masse. This is great music. Just fucking listen to it. With 2016 Songs from a Golden Dream, Greg showcased a new, more nuanced side of his songwriting, inspired by British folk and psych pop as well as the roots music he became known for with the Hips. He's currently touring with the Hips, the Leaf Rustlers, which is a side project he has with Chris Robinson, and he's working on his second solo album under his own name via Blue Rose Music, and that record will be out early next year. We'll talk about that. Greg, thank you so much for your time, and I'm really glad we got to connect.
Glad to be here.
You and Tim Bloom have had great chemistry for almost, well, musically at least. I never know what's going on behind the scenes, but I assume it's great chemistry behind the scenes as well. For almost 3 decades. And I was curious how that's influenced your playing over time, and also what's changed musically for you guys over the years.
Yeah, so it's coming up on knowing Tim for 30 years. In fact, I think this year, actually, right around this time, because school's, Chico
Yeah,
State.
that's right.
So yeah, we met like second day, kind of saw each other and looked at each other and acknowledged that we probably wanted to know each other, and then met each other soon after. Yeah, I don't know what's changed since then. The main thing that drew us to each other, personality-wise, we just get along really well. We're both pretty dull and can just sit quietly together. Like, we don't have to talk a lot, I think we both appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we only talk when there's actually something worth talking about. And we get each other's sense of humor, so that's nice. But musically, when I met him, he knew a couple chords on guitar, and had already had like 2 songs that he'd written, which were great.
Wow.
And I played guitar, and he sang, and I didn't sing. I'd sang not in front of people anyway, but I played guitar. So we sort of swapped. We'd sit in the dorm hallways, and we'd go out and smoke weed in the orchards and teach each other. He'd say, sing this part, and I'd sing a harmony, and I'd say, play this part. And so, and I think the connect, one of the biggest parts of the Mother Hips is the interactions between our guitar playing and our vocals. And that's still the thing. It's evolved because we've gotten better. I think it was good then because it was so unabashed. Like we didn't give a flying fuck. So we just did it, whether it was in tune or not. And I think people appreciated that because of the energy. And over the years, we developed and became better singers and better players and writers. And but really, that core connection through that part of music is why we still do it. We don't have to do it. It's not like we're some huge band and whole stations of people are relying on us. We have great fans. We make a modest living doing it, and we do it because we love doing it. So,
man, and congratulations on that longevity. That is just, it's hard to get along with someone for that long. Anybody, man, most marriages don't last that long.
Yeah, I know. So it's good. And, we're also really stubborn. So that's another reason why it's lasted so long.
Both of you.
We haven't given up,
Can I tell you that Neil told me to ask you that question?
Which
Honest
one?
to God, this question about that you've had great chemistry and how has that influenced your playing over time?
Oh, really?
Yeah. He said, he said, ask him that because they've been together so long. And so that was Neil's question. Your bio said you got signed to American Recordings after your first album, Back to the Grotto. Was that on a label as well at the time, or how did that work?
No, we made that on our own. We saved up money from playing shows around Chico, and we may have done a few out of town shows, and we recorded at a studio in Sacramento called Enharmonic Studios. And we made it ourselves. We called Tim's brother's friend, Paul Hoagland, at the time, produced that record and the next records. He actually ended up joining the band, was always had been kind of the 5th member anyway. And then when our first bass player left in 2000-ish, Paul joined the band and was in the band until 2011. Genius musician and recordist. And so we made cassette tapes. We had actually a cassette tape of 4 songs, the first 4 songs we did. And we'd sell them at shows for $5 or whatever. And then we made the album. And when the album came out, a buzz started happening. So we started getting asked by labels and we were playing out of town. We did a few shows in San Francisco, and we got a manager. So that it all happened very fast once we released the full CD and cassette of Back to the Grotto.
What were the early, once you started playing together in general, before you even did the record, was there any signs? Did you get support from the universe on this thing? And
Huge.
What did that look like? Okay, tell me what that looked like.
Just playing around Chico. There weren't any, in fact, before the band even, Tim and I would play in the dorms for people. We'd grab guitars, and there was a gal named Allie that was a friend of mine from high school, and she'd sing with us, and we'd go up to dorm rooms, and people would be sitting there drinking and smoking, and we'd sing harmonies and play guitar, and so even then we were connecting with people. Yeah. And there were original songs. We weren't just doing Crosby, Stills and Nash or whatever we had our own songs, and our own vibe was very different than the music that was happening. And then once we started playing as a band, that just personified our art. It was very strange. The music was very different, and coming from a spot that felt very organic, I think, not only to us, but to a lot of people. So it caught fire pretty quickly in Chico locally. From anywhere to, we were playing bars where I couldn't even go in. I wasn't 21 yet. I'd have to, and Tim too, actually, we'd have to wait outside and then play and then go outside after.
Wow.
We played a lot of frat parties. Played a horse insemination barn one time in Davis. That was weird.
What is that? Like a place where they inseminate horses?
Yeah. They had this big, mount thing. People were dancing on it. Some weird gigs back then.
Wild.
Northern California, yeah, you get some weird weed gigs and farm gigs, but everywhere we'd play, people it spread, and people were eager for original music. I think there's just all there were cover Ray-Ban and the Shades and the Funnels, and they were all awesome bands and great dudes, but it was cover music,
right,
and which is awesome, but people were digging the original music.
And so did the size of the shows start getting bigger, or did the same people started turning up at the shows? How did that
No,
work?
It just started spreading. So we played a frat party once, and it was packed just because there were frat people there and partying, but then it started spreading where are they playing? And then it started getting, cops would be called because there's just too many people there, or the shows would start selling out in town, and which for a local band playing originals wasn't usually happening. So the buzz started happening, and then it spread, and then it was still during the days of labels, and so the labels started calling us, and hearing about us.
How did that feel when labels started? I had to feel pretty good.
Well, I was in my third year of college. Tim and I were English majors. We took poetry classes and writing classes. Isaac, the bass player, had already dropped out. Mike wasn't really going to school. Tim was kind of going to school. I was finally doing good. I was like, wow, I'm actually getting good grades in school. And they're like, we're dropping out. We're going to get signed. And once we're signed, we're obviously going to be millionaires. So you don't need to go to school.
Yeah.
The correlation was get signed,
millionaire. Yeah.
Right. I was like, okay. So it took me a while. I was like, let me just finish. I just want to finish it. Finally freaking like school. I hated school up until then. I was studying stuff I wanted to study. I was writing, I was reading cool stuff. I was expanding my ability to write and comprehend, and no, Isaac, this player, no, we're out of here. Like, okay. So we did, and then we started getting flown down to LA and sushi dinners and blah, blah, blah. It was like what you see on what you see. It was the tail end of that, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did your folks handle when you said you're quitting school?
My mom was the folk, really, because my dad's not hasn't been in the picture so much. And she was dubious, but she believed in it. She knew how much music had always meant for me, and so she was like, well, you're gonna have to do it on your own. I'll help you with school, but you're gonna have to figure that stuff on your own. But she supported it.
That's great.
Probably would have been, just can't you just finish? So
yeah.
Isaac's in the background. No, we're we're going, you know. We got a van, you know.
When you guys got flown down to LA and labels started courting you, you know, one of the stories I hear really often, and I know you've heard it really often, is, man, I shouldn't have signed with the label, or I wish I had someone read that contract. Did you guys have any situation like that, or did you have somebody reading it, or were you guys familiar with it?
We had a manager who was new and didn't know what he was doing either, but he was older than us, and he had a better sense of business than we did, which is not saying anything at all, because we didn't know anything about that. Right. We could barely tune our guitars. And, there's a story there too, actually. And
let's just go ahead and talk about the story.
So we were playing a show at the Berkeley Square, and we'd been playing. Now we're playing out, and we've got friends that are coming with us and helping us roadie. It's not like we're an organization yet, but we're playing, you know. And we're at the Berkeley Square, and we probably smoked a pretty big joint before. By the way, and we'll talk about this later, I've been clean for 22 years.
Cool. Good for you, man.
But back then, certainly not. And I used up all my party tickets pretty early on.
I never heard that put like that. That is very cool.
It was good. It was worth it.
You know what's really funny? When I talk to a lot of guys who got sober, and he's like, you know what, man? I'll tell you, I miss getting fucked up. I mean, but the pain, you know, basically what they say is the pain, the short-term pain of not getting fucked up today is much greater than the long-term pain I'm going to have if I get fucked up today.
Yeah, totally.
You know, in a nutshell.
But we were super high on California homegrown, and we're on stage, and Tim, we're about to play. You know, you've seen Tim. He used to wear platform shoes and a fur hat, so he's 6'5", but he's like 7 feet tall. You know?
Holy crap!
And I'm looking up at him, and he's like, "Give me an E," and I'm, bong. And we sit there on stage trying to tune our guitar, and then we and it was, and the bass player gets in on it. It was 3 minutes, 4 minutes, which at the beginning of a show is an eternity, right?
Yeah.
And our friend Mark Sundin, was a great dude, and he was just coming along because it was fun. But he was finishing up his school at Stanford. He's a great writer now, and he was looking at us like, these guys are fucking idiots. And so the next show we played in Davis the next day, and he had gone out and bought us tuners.
Oh my God.
And he puts them, we get to the show, and he was setting up our gear. He's like, these are on your amp. Learn how to use them now. We're like, okay. So
did he not realize you guys are just too fucked up from getting
What's
high?
that?
Did he not realize you were just too stoned from that?
We just didn't, you know, we could usually get it in tune. That particular night we couldn't. And he's like,
really
you guys
funny.
are playing in front, there's like 300 people here now. You have to tune, you have to like be quick. You can't just, if you're in Chico, we'd just be like, whatever. It didn't matter, you know. Now that was he sort of moved us into a professionalism by actually, you know, having a tuner to tune the guitar instead of fighting on stage. No, this is right, you know.
That's pretty funny. So go back to the labels now. So you had this manager that had a little bit more knowledge. Did it help you, or did you feel like your contract is it fair? If there, maybe that's a bad word. Is there a fair contract?
It was the normal stuff. We didn't necessarily get screwed or anything. We had a contract that we were going to sign with MCA, and it was in the last minutes of sort of being signed. But we met Chris Robinson at that time. The Black Crowes were just, you know, they were just Southern Harmony had just come out. They're huge.
Yeah.
We had made friends with this guy named Andy Sturmer, and he was in a band called the Jellyfish. Do you remember the Jellyfish?
You know what? I've interviewed someone who played with them at some point in time. I don't remember who off the top of my head.
Jason Faulkner, maybe, or
was Lyle Workman in that band?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
I don't think he toured with them, but he was on their record.
Right. Okay.
And so Andy and Roger, the two front guys in Jellyfish, saw us play at the Paradise Lounge one night, one of our weird frickin' shows to like 4 people, and they loved us, and they asked us to open some shows. And then eventually Andy somehow knew Chris and was helping Chris with the album, which would become Amorica,
right?
their Black Crowes album. And we
Great
came
record.
home from a tour. We didn't have cell phones. We came home from a tour and we listened to our answering machine. And there's a message from Andy saying, guys, call this number and then call me back. You got to listen to the message. So I call the message, the answering machine, Tim and I, and we're like, I don't even think there was speakerphone. We're like listening on this thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey man, this is Chris. Leave a message at the tone. And it's our song. It's one of our songs from the album. So he'd played our song. He'd played our record for Chris, and Chris loved the record.
And that was his voice on his answering machine. That's pretty cool.
He put our song on his answering machine. So we listened to it 20 times.
Yeah. Hopefully there was no call recorder either. You know, one of those.
Oh, I'm sure. We were probably like, dude, you know, total dork. He went home and like, what's going on? But they invited us down to the studio where they were making it. I think it was Ocean Way. I can't remember.
Where they were making Amorica.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we would go down there and we get to meet him and the band, and it was mainly him. And then he's like, you gotta be on American. You guys need to be on American recording. So we started talking to the A&R guy and the people there. We did a showcase out at South by Southwest, and it was right when Johnny Cash's American recordings came out.
Yeah. Okay.
And he did a solo show at Emo's, and then the A&R guy brought us back there, and we got to meet Johnny Cash, and he's like,
cool.
You need to, you know, it's a good label, boys. You should. We're like, okay, we're done. He told us to sign, give us a pen, and we signed.
Wow.
And so we signed with that label, and I think that, you know, they did what they could. We did what we could. We were young and very entrenched in our own, what we thought was right. And I think one of the sort of things I wish I did differently during that time that we had done differently is been more receptive to being team players with the label. You know, we had this opportunity, and Rick Rubin said he didn't come to the studio. He wasn't producing that. He came to one show in LA. Chris brought him to a show. He was banging his head in the front row, which meant he liked it. And then he called us from at our hotel the next day and said, do you guys want to be on the label? And we said yes. And that was about it. And he sent some notes when we were making our second album, Part-Timer Goes Full. And we sort of, whatever.
Dismissed them.
Yeah. And I feel like if we had been more participatory in the whole label vibe, but we were coming from we kind of have always been like that, our own little realm.
Yeah.
And you're kids. You can't.
I was going to say, you add the youth to it. It's really.
We came from a sort of punk rock background. We don't sound punk rock, but it was definitely in us to be like, you know. And I don't regret that part, but part of me is like, well, I wonder if we were actually more receptive to all this cool stuff that could have potentially happened. So
yeah.
Anyway, but I think I wouldn't say there was. Nobody screwed us, you know. Sure. We screwed people, and they screwed, you know. No more than we screwed people than did people screw us.
I understand.
There was no like, oh my God, and then they pilfered all of our account. We didn't have anything.
Yeah. So, I get it.
We got to make records in huge studios and live lavishly in the studio while we were there. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I think it's so hard as the whole reason you get into making music is you're pretty much anti-establishment to some extent.
Yeah.
And now you're with this corporate thing. So you're like, we're going to suddenly not be anti-establishment. That doesn't, that doesn't really change.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard as a young person for anybody to have the coping skills to sit and think, hey man, maybe we should consider that. I mean, unless you have somebody advising you, I think it's unrealistic. Yeah.
But I did learn a lot about business enough to sort of take it all on myself with the hips and be the main guy for years now.
So you handle most of the business stuff with the hips now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
And I have for the last 12, 13 years.
That's great.
At some point it was like anytime, again, I'm not going to say people screwed us over, but people were stupid I was like, God, I could be stupid too.
Yeah.
I could be a little less stupid than that. And so,
Right.
and the musicians, people like to go, oh, you do the music because that's what you do. And some people, that's all they really can do. But if you just put a little effort in, they're like, wait a minute, maybe there's a different way to do this than this.
Sure.
And you take a little time. And I have a lot, my wife, who's a master at all that stuff, is certainly, so she's like, why don't you just freaking do this? Because nobody else is doing it. Everybody else is blowing it. So.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's really important because, I mean, anything that you're doing, if you don't take any responsibility of it, you really can't bitch about the results. That's the thing.
That's right.
You know?
And that's one of the things that drives me crazy is people bitching about things and not do anything about it.
Oh,
so
it's endemic. It's like, you know, I had, who was I talking to recently? It was really quite funny. He said, I don't remember who it was someone pretty successful. And he said, it was, I'm sorry, man, I'm having a brain fart, but he was saying how, a lot of people want to get this, but they don't actually, they like to get it, but they don't want to get it. There's a big difference. Want means you're going to actually do the work,
Yeah.
It was Frank Marino. Sorry, I was at a brain.
Oh, yeah.
And, and he was right. It's exactly what we're talking about. It doesn't make any sense. Sensations came out with one album in 2006. And I chided you, I busted your balls about it earlier, but Listen to My Shapes is a record. What a great, I mean, honestly, I think I even text you or emailed you. I really love the stuff on that.
Yes.
Talk about the concept of the band, both in the studio and live, and then we'll talk about some specific songs on there.
Okay. The band, I started the band probably around 2003-ish. Technically, it was right around the time when the Mother Hips took a hiatus, which I was ultimately responsible for. And
for taking a hiatus?
Yeah.
What you just burned out?
We'd been playing for 13 years, 14 years, something, straight, a lot. I'd had a young son. My son was 1.5 years at that time. I was gone a lot. And so that was kind of the outward, like, that was good enough. Like, I made a statement, was an indefinite hiatus. It was a big deal. Big deal for the band guys, because what are we going to do? It was a big deal for the fans that were so used to seeing us as much. Big deal for me. But there was also just this running thread of negativity within our world, our band, that I couldn't take anymore. I couldn't, it was so toxic feeling. And it was always a complaint, going from being on this label and the arc was going up like this. And then it kind of leveled out, and then Ink started like, man, okay, we're on our own, and we're going to be on our own. We got to do this on our own. There was just a lot of that complaining and not doing anything about it, coming from within the band, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I was in such a positive, beautiful space with a new family,
and you're sober a few years now too.
And right.
Look at shit,
so
totally.
Now, right now, I'm getting into long-term sobriety, and I'm doing things that are expanding my consciousness and living in a family life, and being exhausted and fried and worried about a kid, all those things, but really being with all that shit. And I couldn't connect to that, just that, and that nothing, like, we had to do this, we have to do that. Like, who said we had to do any of this shit?
Yeah.
And so I called for the hiatus, and I told them, if you guys want to keep going, go. I can't be, I understand. And they didn't want to. Tim didn't want to. And so we took that break, and I'd had some songs that we'd been playing with the Hips a little bit, but I had a different vision. I started seeing that when I took that time off, I wasn't sure if I was going to play music or what I was going to do. I actually started going back to school to get a credential as a addiction specialist, which
Good for you, man.
that's work that I do. I've been doing that work for about 10 years. But then I was like, Jesus, really? So I'm kind of doing that. I'm working construction jobs. I'm doing solo gigs here and there. And I decide I want to put this band together and get these songs start playing out locally. I wasn't going to do some big tour, but in California. And the first band I had, there's some friends down in San Diego, and it was Sensations. And I had this big idea, this idea that it was going to be this multi-sensory experience, the California, and we tried, I tried to get people like on the downbeat of the first song, everybody eats a Hershey's Kiss at the same time. It lasted about 2 shows. My wife made these boxes that people could reach in and there'd be like spaghetti in one of them and just stupid. I don't know what I was thinking. My idea was to do something just so different, And then what happened is that these songs, I started playing these songs. I was like, oh no, this is fine. This is I'm just gonna
just
play
the music. I don't need the I don't need the act. Yeah.
And so I these guys in San Diego I played with for a little bit, and then I put the band together with Todd Roper, who is a drummer. He played with Cake. He's actually he's back playing with Cake now. Great drummer, and he could sing. And then Paul Hoagland, who was the bass player for the Mother Hips, joined that band. It was this trio. And we started playing out, and it was so great, so fun, experimental, power trio. It could get real rock. Call it macho sensitive music because it would get real quiet and sensitive at times, and then would get just fully get the Echoplex out and start making feedback noises and strobe lights. Nice. And then we recorded. Paul is like I said, he produced the first 2 Mother Hips records. He recorded the Sensations record at his house in San Pablo. We recorded on a MCI 1-inch 8-track with only 7 working tracks, and he did all of it. I mean,
that's awesome.
He recorded it all. He played bass. He played guitar, keys, probably flute. Whatever. He can play anything. And so that was when that record came out around 2005 or 2006. And then
great record.
Camera Records, who Mother Hips was working with, John Salter, who's general manager at ATO and was then, but he made his own imprint for the Hips, released that. He loved that record. So he released that. It went out on Camera Records. We made vinyl and limited edition. Yeah. And that band kind of carried on, and then different iterations. I kind of still, when I play solo, it's sort of, to me, it's all Sensations, even though there's new songs. Like I'm doing this run and it's under my name, but it's still kind of the Sensi Nation kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. A couple of things. First of all, thanks. That's I appreciate you sharing that. I think whenever you work for yourself, you have to do, maybe it's wacky stuff or whatever, because if you don't do it, nothing's going to happen. Right. Yeah. I mean, it may work, it may not, but if you don't do it, it's definitely not going to work. So what the hell, I think it's good when you do stuff and experiment. The other thing is, credit to you, an important part of recovery, as I understand, is self-care. Mm-hmm. And that's what you basically did by saying, hey man, I need a break. Yeah. That was good for you, man.
Thanks.
Let's talk about a couple of the songs on there. One thing I noticed that the Sensation stuff is pretty different from Mother Hips and from your solo stuff. To me, it seemed maybe either not necessarily guitar or more guitar oriented, but your guitar takes a more prominent role in the songs. They're like guitar songs, kind of.
Yeah, there's a lot of riffs and
yeah.
They're definitely all written on guitar and a lot of them on electric guitar.
Right.
Acoustic kind of, a couple on there that are a little more acoustic based, but most of them were ones that I was rehearsing with those guys in that power trio form. We just went in and tracked all that stuff live and then did a few overdubs with vocals and extra guitars, but all that stuff is just the trio cranking through those songs.
Also, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
I'm saying also the music's a little darker, which I like. I happen to like darker stuff. When I say darker, it resolves. It's like it's darker stuff, but it is up. There's a crescendo. There's a journey that it ends always like uplifting on a positive thing, but the music tends to be a little darker, which again, I like that. You wrote all that stuff.
I did.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. Is there going to be another record, or I know you said you consider your solo stuff sort of sensations, but is there going to be another sensations record?
I don't know. I think it would be fun to go and like get a trio up and running and do it like that, like aim it towards that kind of vibe. I'd like to do another sensation. I'd really like to do one with Paul and Todd. Actually, if I was going to do it, that's what I really want to do.
I really dug it. And I want to just ask you about a couple of questions from there. And so just for the listeners, this is from the Sensations record. It's called Listen to My Shapes. You got a song on there called I as a Ghost. That's you singing?
It is, yeah.
Man, great, really pretty vocals in there, man. I mean,
thank you.
And I thought it was cool because you have the guitar, you did like the call and response with guitar and your voice and some of the riffs there. I thought was really cool.
Cool, thank you.
Is there a backstory to that song?
That song, yeah, a little bit. I was listening to a record by you know who Will Oldham is? Bonnie Prince Billy.
No,
you heard of Bonnie Prince Billy? So the singer and songwriter's name is Will Oldham, but this project he's had ongoing for a long time now called Bonnie Prince Billy, and I'm trying to remember what album it was. I think the album, yeah, I'm not going to remember the name of it right now, but there's a song and he's talking about living in a house with a ghost. And it just made me think about what it would be like to be floating around as a ghost and watching things happen. And so it was inspired by that, that particular song. It's a different vibe than that song, but that's where it came from.
Great song, man. And also the song that follows it actually is Having Me. Great vocals, really cool guitar, and some double tracking in there as well, which sounds great.
And I did some. I think on that one there's a reverse solo. I think we did some. We turned the tape.
Oh, is that what you did?
Yeah. And there's 2 parts, so we tried to do like a harmony in reverse. It was a little challenging, but it kind of worked.
But it sounded great, though. I knew you went and did separate tracks in there, but it sounded really good. Is there any backstory to that song?
That song was, let's see. That was like hiatus time where I was trying to figure out what I was doing and realizing that not doing music was really hard,
right?
And that I missed it a lot, and I was having a lot of anxiety. So anxiety is having me was very, and that's what I'd do.
Okay.
And I'd go and take long walks through the trees and try to work it out, and so, and it was definitely personal in that experience, but then I started exploring like what, I'm having anxiety's having me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Are you having it, or is it having you? So
hang on a second, because I want to think about that for a minute. That's an interesting.
Yeah. And where do you give, giving your power away to those kind of things, So.
Good stuff, man. I really dig that song, both those 2 songs.
Yeah, that's a fun track. We never played that one much live, and I'd like to, because it's got some good riffs and
great riff. Yeah, really cool song. Talk about Leaf Rustlers, because I know you enjoy that.
Yeah, Leaf Rustlers is a band that started about a year and a half ago, getting close to 2 years. And Chris Robinson, he called me up he was doing some shows at Terrapin Crossroads, Phil Lesh's place in San Rafael. He was doing some hootenannies. He was curating some nights. One night he did with Ethan Miller and some guys from Howlin' Rain. It was more of a garage rock night. Then there was a country night that he did with Barry Sless, Pete Sears on bass. Pete's from Jefferson Starship and played with Rod Stewart, and and then John Mullo on drums, think Jason Crosby might have been playing keys, and they did kind of a country rock night, Flying Burrito Brothers stuff. And then I did a night with him the next week, which was me, Chris, Dave Schools, the bass player from Widespread Panic, Jay Lane, amazing drummer, and Adam McDougall, the keyboard player from Chris Robinson and the Crows and stuff. And that was more of a kind of a funk soul night. But Chris got really stoked on, I think they might even come up with the name Green Leaf Rustlers that night for that band, because Barry Sless is an amazing guitar player. I don't know if you know Barry.
I don't.
Pedal Steel. You got to look him up. And so Chris called me at the end of whatever that was, 2017 or something, and said, Barry and I want to do this band. We all live in Marin, and we want to play Doug Somm and Waylon Jennings and jam out on them. It's like, great. So we started at the beginning of 2018. We did a run of shows, and it was so much fun. So so Barry, Pete Sears, and John Mullo play a lot together, and in the David Nelson band and a band called Moon Alice. They're like this little unit. They're just badass together. And so whenever Chris wasn't on the road with CRB and I wasn't with the Hips, and they're not with their bands, we try to connect. So we've done, last year and this year, we've got some shows under our belts. It's very, very fun. Chris does most of the singing. I sing a few songs each night myself, and there's a lot of jam and it pushes me, because Barry's so good. They're all so good, and that it really pushes me as a guitar player. It's a avenue for me to really stretch out and play. With the Hips, there's a little bit of improv moments each night, not a ton, but some. But there's songs, and they're our songs, and they feel very, this is how they go, So this is really cool, because it's very free form. I get pushed. They're all so good that I'm constantly having to rise to the occasion,
which is great.
Tried it. So good. Yeah.
Do you think you guys will ever do like some originals?
I'd like to. Yeah. And I know Chris is working on some songs, and we've talked about it. I've got some things I think would be good. Everybody's so busy.
Yeah.
That it's just get together, sound check, run some stuff. We've never even practiced, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's so we'll see. I know that there were some live recordings done by Betty Cantor, and that Chris was talking about potentially putting out a live show.
That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So really fun.
And you guys only typically play out west?
Yeah, we did. We played at Livon Helms Bar.
Oh, yeah, from Woodstock.
Yeah, and then we came out to the East Coast for like 2 shows. That was about it.
How about the Hips? Kind of the same thing, right?
The Hips, we get around, but we don't stay in one place for too long.
Yeah.
For example, like this month we're going out to, or no, maybe it's November. We go to Tulsa, and then we go up to Dallas and Austin, and then we'll come home. Yeah. And then we'll go out to Utah and then come home. And then we'll go out to the Midwest for 4 days and come home. So we fly in, fly out. That was one of the things that took away from the hiatus. When we came back, we're like, man, we don't have to be in the van for 3 weeks. We can do this smarter. Where are the markets that are working? What markets do we want to expand? And let's focus. Let's get, we can actually get flights that aren't going to break the bank. And we can either rent gear. We can find that we have a lot of friends in bands. Maybe we can borrow some gear, make some deals. And that's kind of what we started doing after that hiatus. And it was like, oh, this is kind of better.
Who thought it was that? Did you think about that, or you guys all collectively?
Yeah, it was pretty much me, because I didn't want to tour. I didn't want to be away from home, because Noah was so young. Yeah. And my wife worked. It's not like I made any money so that I could have her not work. She had to making more money than me at that time. And so, yeah, I didn't want to be on the road. Good for you. It was good that you figured it out. And then it was like, oh, cool. Okay, well, maybe we'll do 20 shows this year. And then that was, the first year. And then maybe we'll do 30. And then we moved it up. We were back up to 50, 60, 70, playing a good amount of shows each year, but it didn't feel like these big slogs,
Yeah, because you're not out in the van all day.
Yeah. And every once in a while, something will come up and we'll go out for 2 weeks or something.
Right.
And now, my guys are bigger and at home, and yeah.
Top 3 experience. Oh, tell me about, I know you got new record coming out after the first New Year. Talk about that. I know you're excited about that.
I am excited about that. I've been recording it down in Ojai, California, it's just sort of southeast of Santa Barbara, with my friend Scott Hirsch. He's producing it and recording it, mixing it. Scott Hirsch is a musician and recordist. He's a big part of the band His Golden Messenger. I don't know if you've heard of them. But
a lot of these are like sort of like niche California.
No, they started here, but His Golden Messenger, Mike lives in North Carolina.
Okay.
So they're based out of there, and Scott was living in New York, and he's recorded, I think, all of their albums. Maybe not all of them, but a good part. And he used to play bass in the band. But he's got a kid. He and his wife live in Ojai. He's got a studio there, and so we started recording this album about a year ago, maybe a little more. And so with a couple singles have come out. Single came out in March called San Felipe, it was a duet with a woman named Jamie Drake. Then another song came out in May called Close Your Eyes, We'll Be There Soon. That's kind of an ode to the Mother Hips Hypnic, that we're a festival, our own little festival we do in Big Sur, California.
That's real. I would imagine that's really good for just positioning of the band when you have a festival.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's tiny. It's a very small kind of boutique festival, and it's very special. We've been doing it. I think this coming year is going to be year 12.
And what's the festival called?
It's called the Hypnic.
The Hypnic. And it takes place what time
in May, usually like third weekend in May.
If people want to check that out, what's the best way? Do you post stuff online, or is it hypnic.com?
No, but Folkia, FOLK.
Okay.
What Folkia presents, or the promoters, and Britt is the curates it, really.
Great.
We kind of host it. He does all the heavy lifting and has for years. He does a great job.
Folk, yeah, great.
Yeah. So whenever, usually towards the end of the year and beginning of the new year, tickets start going on, pre-sales start going on sale. And it sells out really fast because it's not very large. But all kinds of Neil. I think that might be where I met Neil the first time.
At Hypnic.
Knew about him, and he came and did a solo set in I want to say it was the second Hypnic, 2009, 2008. And it was fantastic. Yeah. And lots of folks have come through there and played with us. So yeah.
Very cool.
What you were asking something, how did we get to Hypnic?
I had said, what are you excited about?
Oh, okay.
You talk about your new record.
Yes. Yeah. And so somehow I started talking about Hypnic, but I'm very excited about the new record. Oh, the song. It was the song Close Your Eyes, We'll Be There Soon that came out in May. It was an ode to Hypnic. And kind of wrote it about that experience. And then the song Chamberlain's Trunk that's coming out on October 11th with a video made by my friend Darren Ney. Is another, it's a little darker. It's not as kind of light as those other ones.
Which is probably why I dug it. What did tell me was up with the lyrics? You left your guitar in Chamberlain's trunk. What's it like? Is that a metaphor for something else?
I mean, the name, I just needed a name for that. So then the name is sort of arbitrary.
Right.
But how does that verse go? Last time I saw you were stumbling drunk, you left your guitar in Chamberlain's trunk. It's just, I guess it's kind of like the neglecting, like when music starts getting neglected. I remember that point in my Getting Loaded where that's all we used to play. And after show, we'd play a 3-hour show, and then we'd go back to the hotel room and jam with other people. We'd sing Graham Parsons songs and stuff, all night. And at some point, we stopped. It was more like run back to the rooms to get a fix rather than. And I think that's maybe. And nobody asked me that, but I think that's where that's from.
Interesting.
Like the guitar got left. You didn't even remember your guitar. When that happens, that you're out of it.
Talk about then. Let's talk about then. It's a good segue. Some of the lower points or darker periods you've had to deal with, and how'd you get through them?
Yeah, I would say, and deep in the addiction for me, towards the end there, I got clean at the end of '96. So I'd say like that year and the year before, there's some really dark moments. Very lonely moments thinking that this was it. This was just going to be how it is for as long as I live. And I'm not sure how long that's going to be, sort of resigning to it in a way. Couldn't even really think about, well, will I have a family, or will I make it? Will I score tomorrow?
Right. Yeah.
And we were functioning, I was making it to shows. We were playing every night, it wasn't going to jail or anything. It was just very dark, lonely time. And there was a lot of the band was doing well. And so there's all this stuff happening around, and you just sort of, none of it matters anymore. We literally would run back to the hotel at the end of the night to be by yourself, so you're not sick, because you start getting sick on stage,
right?
And it's no way to live, and the more isolated you get, the more you sort of resign to it, I guess.
Can I ask you a couple of questions about your recovery and stuff like that? If you're comfortable, yeah. If you're not, that's totally cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. Because a lot of people,
it can be private, and for me, it was private for a while. But
no, a lot of people send me emails about it's really helpful when they hear this stuff, because everybody's, there's always someone going through stuff, What prompted you to say, "Hey, man, I need some help"?
I think that there was a time we were in Colorado, and it was the end of '96, and we'd run out of stuff, and I got sick, and it was that had happened before, but it was really bad. And when we got home, when we were heading home, we had sort of passed the hard part. And in my brain, I was like, this is great. Like, I don't have to go back to doing this anymore. I'll just drink. And I was with, just because I don't know if the other person.
Yeah. You don't need to name names. Totally.
But we were flying home. That's their own side of the story.
Totally, man. Yeah.
I was with, we're flying home. It was someone I know well, and we're at the SFO, and we didn't even say anything. It was just a look, and we got a cab.
And you went to cop.
And we went straight to the dealers. Just like that. And at that point, my mom had either been tipped off, and I was kind of living at her house at the time, and we were heading into our holiday shows, or our Hipsmith shows.
Yeah.
Not Hipnic, but Hipsmiths. It's kind of confusing names, but these Great American Music Hall shows we've been doing for a long time. It happened really fast, got back on, and I was able to reach out to my mom. She might have caught wind. She knew something was going on, And so I told her. I said, this is what's happening, and she wanted me to go to treatment right away.
Wow, that was really hold on, that's really cool that you told her.
Yeah, I always knew I could, actually, because there were times before that in the years prior where it was kind of a voice in my head, like, this is not you, man. This is not you. And And so when I told her, she was she freaked out, we're going to let's do this right away. I'm like, I got to play the shows, She wanted me to go somewhere right away. And I didn't even really want to go anywhere. I was like, I'll just take care of it on my own. But then I realized I tried to take care of it on my own a bunch, and I couldn't. It was always something else sort of leading me away. And so I went to a place up here in Marin just for a little bit of time. I wasn't there for that long, but it got, it hit in the clarity of actually being clear for a sustained period of time, which it probably hadn't been since I was 15. Something was always there. Weed or, and so that was, I was able to really go, you know what, this has always been, even when I wasn't, a junkie, I was always reaching outside of myself for something else. And, and with enough support and good questions from this guy that worked there that I really like, he's like, well, what else is possible? Like, what if you just didn't do anything? Would you be able to do that? Of course, the voice in my head, no, you won't be creative. You won't be this, you won't be that, And it was like that. It was very uncomfortable for the first few shows, And fortunately, Tim was doing it with me. He got clean too. And eventually Isaac did for a while. So there was a period. It was awkward, but the payoff was way better, because then there'd be a night where I was like, whoa, I just freaking burned that thing. Or, the song I have, or that improv was really present for, those rewards started. They were more impactful than a quick, So anyway.
Well, dude, first of all, thank you for sharing that. Congratulations, man. 22 years is a long time.
Yeah. We'll see each day. You see how it goes each day.
And, of course. Absolutely. But that's really cool. It's funny when I talk to a lot of guys talk about getting sober, obviously the first gig not high is always like a lot of anxiety and trepidation around it.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I've worked with a lot of people, and that's, how am I going to do this? And that voice inside your head is just trying to sabotage you to get you loaded again. Really, it's going to say anything. I mean, there's that, and there's also when you're used to having a little social lubrication before you do something, and then you don't. It's there's probably a reason why you were doing it, because you had social anxiety or you were nervous or whatever. So yeah.
And what prompted you to become involved in addiction now?
Well, I kind of always had I didn't mean to, but when people, and I never would tell people that I wasn't getting loaded, but people would pick up on it, like, oh, you never drink after shows, or, oh yeah, I know, it's been a while, I've been a couple of years now. Oh, really? I want to, or I got a friend, or, I'm, and I'd start talking to people, and I realized that it felt good to support people, and that I had, and I was a pretty good listener. And I think that's the main thing. People just want to talk. They don't want to hear solutions. Oh, well, you need to go to this meeting, blah, 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 or go to that. No, people just want to fucking say, my life sucks, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It goes a long way. And so I kind of realized, that I was interested in that. And the more I studied psychology on my own and did meditation, I got more interested in the psychology of it. And so that's when I was like, well, maybe I'll, and I needed to make more money than I was making.
Yeah.
And my wife's hustling away, and I'm trying to keep up with her, which I'll never be able to do, but I'm going to keep trying.
No, that's.
And so, I started taking these classes and really enjoyed them. And then, I had to get a bunch of hours and do a whole thing. And then, so I was working part-time for a while, but then I developed with the guidance of this guy who's kind of a mentor, because I was talking about how I wanted to combine music and recovery. And so he sort of was like, well, it's now or never, dude. So I'm giving you a deadline. And so I created this music group, and that's what I do now. It's a music group that I bring into treatment centers, and I work as a contractor, which is great because I can do it like gigs.
Yeah.
And I can tell people, listen, I'm going to be on tour for most of this month, I can't work. Then they're not relying, they can fill it in with other things. So I'm super grateful for that. And it keeps me in tune, because I don't go to meetings or, my recovery is a little different than some others. But that helps me stay connected,
Yeah, paying it forward, and sense of obligation.
And I'm always thinking about how, if I'm going to help other people with their stuff, like, well, how's it working for me right now? Is it working for me right now? Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be like that trainer in the gym who's about 300 pounds, and like I see these guys, I'm like, how the fuck? I mean, I don't. Yeah, that doesn't really. I don't get that. Yeah. So when you go, you'll perform in a rehab center or someplace like that, and then
it's not a performance. I developed a group that incorporates the techniques that I will use in like group therapy.
Yeah.
So, and it's wild because, you work with these people, whether you're sitting with them one-on-one or in group, and, it's like, well, how do you feel about that? It's like, fuck you. Why am I going to tell you my feelings? Like, I don't even know you, especially with the young guys,
right.
Young kids, guys and girls. And, they're like defiant, like we were when we were.
Of course.
Yeah. It's like, no, I know what I'm doing. Hey, we're going to listen to music today. Play a song that means something to you that you want to share with the group, First of all, that's just a personal thing, right? Like, share, especially when you're younger. But I work with all kinds of people. At more times than not, that person that doesn't want to talk to you and thinks you're an idiot, and they play their favorite song, they start crying, and it opens something up. This is the song my mom, blah, 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 whatever. It's amazing to watch how people connect with music emotionally. It can really get people that are not connecting emotionally and physically to connect.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
I got to believe that's super rewarding for you as well.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's rewarding, but it's also just so cool to be a part of that experience and to feel it. And it's crazy because the songs that people will pick are songs I'd never thought I'd ever listen to. I'd typically mock, a lot of times,
So they're asking you to play these songs, or
no. I'll have a sound system in there.
Oh, okay.
I'll ask people. That was one of the things we do. I'll ask people, pick a song that means something to you. You want to share with the group, something like that. And they play some song. And
what are some of the songs they play?
All of a sudden they'll be playing some like Taylor Swift song, and I'm tearing up, and like I hear something in it that I would never, it would never be caught dead. The fact that I'm even saying this,
Interesting.
But it's amazing when it's in the context of
it
means something to somebody else, and you can feel that, and you ask them why, and they tell you why, and it'll blow your mind.
Wow. Have you ever had someone play something like Ozzy?
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I've had people play Slayer and just fucking rock out. It's awesome.
That is wild.
Every kind of music, that's the other thing. It's like you never, and the way that it'll connect, some older dude plays, picks a Kink song, and there's some kid that's young that they had no connection. This kid loves the Kinks, and they're like, all of a sudden they got a connection. Oh, how do you, I saw the Kink. I used to work with the Kink. What? And all of a sudden these two people in the group that were so far away that we're never going to connected over music. You know how it is when you were in school and you found out the guy who liked Ozzy, you're like, oh yeah, I love Ozzy.
Yeah. He's a cool guy all of a sudden.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Well, I'm really happy for you, man, that you got all that together. Congratulations on sobriety.
Thank you.
We have I've had so many people request, appreciate the sober stories that I started a playlist on YouTube, and all the episodes where people talk about getting sober on there. It's a pretty popular, one of the most popular. Yeah. It's a very popular playlist. So, flip side, what are some things that you've done which were out of your comfort zone? And I'm sure recovery is one of them, but hindsight turned into positive breakthroughs for you.
Yeah, definitely getting clean during that time in my life was out of my comfort zone, and definitely brought up a lot of uncomfortable, awkward feelings that I had to deal with. That hiatus I was telling you about was very much out of my comfort zone. Nobody wanted it except me, and so I really had. And like you had said, fortunately, I had some some of that recovery and stuff under my belt to really be able to get to a place where I could to really know if that's what I wanted, you know. And it was hard to do because A, it was super scary. I didn't know what I was gonna do in my life, and B, it was letting a lot of people down. You know, in a band with people, and that's their livelihood. It's like, what else are they gonna do? But that's also a myth too. People say, "Oh, that's the only thing I can do." Okay, well, don't sell yourself short. I've known you for a long time. You're a super smart, resourceful person. So that was definitely it. I'd say also in the last several, 4, 5, 6 years, even longer, but in Terrapin Crossroads, if you know about this place, there's a lot of jam. One of the first times I played there was with Neil, actually, and I've opened myself up to playing out with more people. Like I was saying, the Mother Hips had always kind of been this insular world, and we didn't jam with other people that much. We were always kind of just doing our own stuff. We didn't play other cover songs really. And when Tim got hurt, if you read any of the story, but Tim Bloom from the Mother Hips got in a terrible paragliding accident and almost lost his foot, almost lost his life, and was out for a long time. I needed to play other gigs, and Graham Lesh and Craig MacArthur and Brian Rashap and Alex Kofer, all these young dudes that were playing down at Terrapin, either with Phil, with other people, they would play every night. It's not so much like, it's still like that a little bit, but there was this period of time, and I talked to Craig. I'm like, I need to play, but I wasn't used to reading charts and playing songs that you'd never practice with people, so that was stepping out of my comfort zone. But it was a huge learning for me, how to play more on the fly. It totally prompted me for the Leaf Rustlers stuff I'm doing now. And so I'd say that's another one of the sort of things that it was initially out of my comfort zone that I learned a lot from.
For people listening, Terrapin Crossroads is a club Phil Lesh owns, correct? That's
right. It's in San Rafael, California, Marin County, just north of San Francisco.
Man, isn't it funny? Everybody's the same. Nothing like that. You want to get over a hump or, I hate to say get to the next level because it's fucking canned, but to do something new is always tuition that you got to pay.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's nothing's free. There's always a tuition. And it always works if you pay the tuition. Any advice if you had to go back and give young Greg that you would have told yourself?
Oh man, I'd say be more receptive to don't be so insular. I think it did what it needed to do for us. But if, for instance, when we were on American, if we'd been more proactive in trying to engage Rick or something, or just been more interested in that kind of stuff, I think maybe that'd be one thing. Not that I'd still say self-consciousness and that kind of stuff, being more self-positive or what, that kind of stuff. I've gotten a lot better at that. There's something I'm still working on. I'd say back then, like, don't give a fuck what other people think. Don't. Like, you can say you don't, but you do, because we said we didn't all the time. We don't give a fuck, but we did.
Yeah.
But to really be in that spot, and to be able to step out and take those kind of more of those chances of like, well, fuck it. If I make a mistake, if I make a fool of myself, guess what? Time goes by and nobody cares. Everybody's worried about their mistakes anyway. Yeah. Some of that, I think.
You said that I knew somebody that was in recovery, a close friend of mine, and he said one of the most important things he learned in recovery is that no one's going to sleep at night thinking about him.
Yeah.
it goes along the lines of what you're saying. And he was always so paranoid and, concerned about that. And then when someone put it to him like that, he was like, yeah, you're probably right. So, also, I think it's interesting about being more receptive to working with others, especially in the music business. My limited experience, but I guess maybe not limited, 2 years and 600 interviews. This is the business where you contact people and opportunities happen. You do what you do with people. And I mean, I've never seen a business like this. I've been working for myself for 21 years in business, and I've never seen, and I've been in all sorts of industries as a consultant, and I've never seen a business like this before. This is very unique. If you work well with others, they will support you and say, hey man, you need to work with so-and-so. Really interesting.
Yeah.
Talk about gear for a few minutes, Greg. What's your go-to guitar right now, and what other 2 guitars would round out your top 3?
I play a Fender Telecaster. It's a 1963 reissue, a custom shop. I play that primarily, pretty much all the time.
When did you get that?
I got that guitar from my friend Jackie Green. I don't know if you know Jackie.
I do not.
Jackie's a great player and singer, and he's done quite a bit of stuff out there.
When did you get that from him?
He gave it to me about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, he gave it to you?
Yeah, I used to sit in with him. And I played a Telecaster that I have, which is kind of the second. It would be the second guitar. It's a new 1998 Telecaster that I bought at Guitar Center in LA. I decided, this was before I had kids or anything, but I said, I don't have any new guitars. And I figured the Telecaster is the new one to get, that's like, it's been the same. It's just a work guitar, and I wanted a Tele. I'm going to get a new one. So I went down to Guitar Center with Tim, and we went in, we got all the Teles over there, and I played them all. He handed me one after another, and I found the one I liked the best. And I had played that for years and years, all the way up until about 4 years ago. Played that since '98. And I would sit in with Jackie once in a while when he was playing, and we'd done the Hips and Jackie have done some touring together. And I'd always he'd have all his guitars out. He has beautiful guitars, and I'd always grab that old Tele, relict, and he's like, you got to take that guitar. I'm like, yeah, all right. I thought he was just saying it. But one night after the 30, he's like, you haven't taken this guitar, take it. Like, really? So I'll keep it on long-term loan. He's like, I don't play it, take it. So I took it.
God, how cool is that?
Yeah.
To give you a custom guitar.
Yeah, it's kind of guy Jackie is. He's a
holy shit
generous dude. And so I've been playing it. I took it on the road. We flew somewhere, and I was like, I'm going to take this guitar, and because if I don't, I'm never going to play it. And I took it, and the first night I was like, I missed my other Tele so much. And second night I was like, oh, these pickups sound great. Third night it was like, sorry, honey, I'm not coming back.
I'm not coming back. That's cool, man. That's very cool.
Yeah, and I've got the first real, cool guitar I got. The first guitar I had was a Fender Bullet.
Like a Squire?
It's not a Squire. It's a Fender Bullet, but they made Squire bullets too. It's like looks like a Strat, but it's smaller. It's like a student guitar. My mom and grandma bought it for me in 1982 when I was, 10 years old, 11 years old. And
you started playing young.
And yeah, I started playing around that time and stopped for a while and then picked it up again. And I played in the early days of the Mother Hips. That was my only guitar. And then I bought a Strat, a 76 hardtail tobacco burst. Weighs about 470 pounds. Those
are not good years for Fender, I don't think either, were they?
I'll tell you what, though, this guitar, and you tell Tim that she's been trying to steal that guitar from me for years.
Oh, killer guitar!
It's awesome. I don't play it anymore. I record with it. I don't play it live anymore. This guitar here that I have around the house a lot is it's Les Paul. No, it's not.
What is it?
My grandpa built it.
Your grandpa built it?
Yeah.
Was he So you come from a family of is your family musical then?
No, he was a builder and inventor. He didn't really play, but this guitar, and look,
Look at the size of that pickup.
Semi hollow. Yeah, and these are Gretsch model pickups. His last name was Luzi. His name was Joe Luzi, and they say Lou tone on them.
Oh, very cool.
And so he actually knew Les Paul. My grandma claims, this isn't true, but my grandma's like, well, when Les was around, Joe had this shape. Like, grandma, that's not true. But this guitar was built in 1949.
That was 10 years almost before, 8, 9 years before. Yep. That's wild.
1949. There's a picture of my grandpa and Les playing harmonica through a little champ, or I don't know what the amp is, and my grandpa's standing there.
With that guitar? Your grandpa?
Yeah, I think so. I gotta find the picture.
So you kind of wonder now.
I know.
Seriously, I mean, if that was pictures in 1949, when was the first Les Paul come out? In mid 50s?
I don't know if that picture is from 49.
Oh, okay.
My grandma said he built this guitar in 49. So anyway, it's a super cool sounding guitar and super special. It hangs. I have some guitars on the wall in the house, and then the rest of them are downstairs.
Does that sound good? What do those pickups sound like?
It's grindy. It's nasty. Yeah, I like it. I haven't played it live that much. It's a little hard to keep in tune. It was when my friend Keith Carey, who the neck was broken. When I was a kid, it was in my room, and I was wrestling with some friend. My grandma finally gave it to me. I used to go over to her house when I was a little kid, and I'd play air, no strings on it. I'd pick it up and I'd play air guitar on it. And she finally, when I was 16 or something, she gave it to me. She said, "You should take this guitar." And my friends and I were drunk, wrestling in my room one night when I was 17 or 18 years old, and I broke the neck.
Oh.
Like a fucking knucklehead. And so I kept it in 2 pieces for a long time. And then about 10 years ago, I brought it to this guy, Keith Carey, up in Winters, California. And he was able to fix the neck, its dovetail joint. And then he went in there, and it was active. And my grandpa had actually put later on, he'd actually put a active pickup in it.
There's a battery in there?
There was a battery in it, old battery and stuff. He took it out because he was like, this is really janky.
Wow.
Yeah, he did that and maybe in the 60s or something. Yeah.
So he's a pretty sharp dude as far as luthier stuff goes.
Yeah, it's a beauty. I mean, if you see the wood, and it's semi-hollow. That's the crazy thing too. It's
semi-hollow. It's wild. This will probably be on Blabbermouth after it comes out. Greg Loiacono claims his grandfather is the inventor of that.
I didn't claim it.
I know. I'm not saying you did. I know you didn't, but that's not how it's going to come out.
I know.
Blabbermouth.
This is what my grandma used to say.
That's so funny, man. That would probably look like it'd be a good slide guitar, man, as high as those strings are.
Yeah, the action's kind of high. I've never tried slide on it. But.
Wow, very cool, man. Favorite players? I know you guys out in the sort of, you're not really in the jam band scene, but you kind of in the jam band scene.
Yeah, we're kind of in this weird middle world,
Do you know
jam band people don't think we jam enough, and the indie, pop rocks think we jam too much. So.
Yeah. Do you know Rob Compa by any chance?
I don't.
From Dopapod? Do you know that band?
Well, I know that band. I've heard of that band, but I don't know him, and I can't say I've heard that band.
Yeah. Before. Just curious. Real sweet guy. Favorite players you've enjoyed playing with?
So many. I mean, I still love playing with the guys in my band.
That's great.
Playing with Tim and John and Paul. I'd say one of the people that I've had the most fun playing with is Paul Hoagland, the guy who's
bass player.
Sensations record, and just my musical experiences with him have definitely been some of my favorite ever. There's some guys like down at Terrapin that I'll play with. There's a guitar player named Stu Allen, and he mainly does Jerry Garcia stuff. It's he plays a lot of that. I just love his playing though. Stu Allen's awesome. It's the Rustlers guys. I mean, Chris is a world-class frickin' rock singer. Barry Sless, his steel playing and pedal steel guitar playing is out of this world. Pete Sears is the best bass player I've ever played with, pretty much hands down. John Molo, insane drummer, great drummer. Scott Tunis was in the Mother Hips for a while. Scott Tunis is a good friend of mine and was in the Hips for about 6 years. And he was in Zappa's band from 81 to 88.
Oh, so he must be a monster.
He is a monster.
Wow.
And he's super fun to play with. He doesn't really necessarily like to play that much, but when he plays, when he was in the Hips, it was heavy duty.
Wait, he doesn't like to play? He doesn't play guitar anymore?
He still plays bass. He likes to transcribe music. He likes to sit there and look at Bartok and Stravinsky and try to, those are his chew toys. He actually just recently played. There was some like Zappa hologram thing. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh yeah, Mike Keneally.
Yeah, he's good friends with Mike. He was in the band with Mike. So
okay, yeah.
So that's kind of when I met Scott. Our kids were going to school together, and he was sort of retired,
Okay.
And I got him to play in a school band with me, and we'd share stories. And then when we let go of Paul from the band, and all that stuff happened, he joined and was able to he's a complete wizard. And then another bass player named Reed Mathis. Do you know Reed?
Do not. Sorry, man.
Check him out. He's an insane player. Really fun. I like playing with him. His musical voice is very unique, and his approach and his ability to explore is just unparalleled. He's really all about that, and being as good technically and mentally as he is, he's very open to. He doesn't need that to fulfill his musical connections. He's looking for voices as well. That's kind of what I like. That's what I get drawn to. I don't get drawn to if someone can burn really fast, or I get drawn to am I hearing something that's unique in there, and so with Reed, he's also a super shred muffin, but his musical voice is very distinct and unique, and I really love that part about him.
Do you know Mike Keneally?
I got to meet Mike through Scott. He actually came and jammed on a song with the Mother Hips down in San Diego one night.
Oh, he's a hell of a player.
Yeah, he's Jesus. All those guys are just insane.
He's literally actually the smartest person I think I've ever met in my life. He's one of these guys. His retention, is almost like an idiot savant, but he's not.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like way off the charts of genius or something. He's really great dude.
I mean, get him and Scott and all those guys are like that. I mean, Scott's the same way.
Is he? I think you kind of have to be like that to play that music, almost to play Zappa.
Yeah.
Top 3 Desert Island discs, Greg. No particular order, and just for today.
Ooh, such a hard one. I mean, it's corny, but Physical Graffiti comes to mind right away.
No, it's not corny.
I can always listen to that. Honestly, a record that I listen to so much and continue to and never get tired of, and I'd probably bring this because of that, is there's a band called Midlake. And they're out of Denton, Texas. And they put out a record called The Trials of Van Occupanther.
Trials of what?
Van
Occupanther.
OCCU Panther.
Van Occupanther. Sounds like a disease. What
It's an amazing record.
I got Van Occupanther. What kind of music is it?
It sounds like a lost record from the 70s.
I gotta check it out.
Poppy, proggy, but it would be classified under mid 2000 through 2010 indie rock stuff.
Okay, I gotta check it out.
So early aughts indie rock. But
how did you get hip to them?
Tim and I were driving back from the High Sierra Music Festival I don't know, we played there in like one of the years, 2007, 2008. We're driving back along the Feather River, and I was sitting in the back of the van, and he put on a CD that someone had given him. And the third song, I'm like, what is this? How did we miss this record? This is clearly some, 1973 masterpiece that was made by some weird people that we never heard of. He's like, oh, Matt Downer just gave me this record. It's a new band. This record just came out.
Wow. I love hearing this, man. I get chance. I'm just mid-lake.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many records. Another one that pops into my head that I always come back to is the Beach Boys' Friends. That's one of my favorites. It's the one that came after Pet Sounds, and I just love that record. It'd probably be some sort of Merle Haggard record. I'd think it'd be something with his old stuff, but that one record he put out, If I Could Only Fly, and right at the end of the 90s, early 2000s, and he's older, his voice is, but that record's pretty special to me.
Was Red Volkart the guitar player there?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I had Red on the show. He's the nicest guy ever, man.
He did.
He's a sweetheart, man.
Briefly, and I've seen him at the Continental Club do his thing. And
he's got
jaw drop the whole time.
Yeah, people. He's amazing, but he's a really sweet guy as well. He's had a tough life. That guy. He had a very tough life. Most important things you've learned about yourself, man.
I've learned about myself.
These are difficult questions.
Yeah.
Coming up.
I'd say that it takes me a while to get going. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. Let me say this. One of the things I've learned that's actually helped me is to learn how to respond rather than react. Because a lot of times I'll react and say things that I didn't want to say if I just had thought about it a little longer, whether it be in the heat of the moment or, take, for example, responding to an email. Someone sends you an email, it fires you up, and you write right back.
Oh no, that's the kiss of death, bro.
And that sort of knowing, like, you know what? I don't even know if I need to. I have to figure out if does it even warrant a response?
Yeah.
And so that in life, though, not just an email, but I would say that that's something that I've tried to learn.
Happiest moment or time in your life?
Okay. Well, there's been a few. Definitely kids being born. Those moments, being with my wife and watching her do that and seeing the result and being there, doing whatever I can to be a part of that, and just mind-blowingly the feelings of, there's all kinds of feelings, but that this elation and happiness and joy is unparalleled, and doing that with her and I think that probably
cool.
In both times, very different experiences and both equally mind-blowing and joyful.
You have 2 kids?
Yeah.
That's great. Congratulations. Who's had the biggest influence on you musically and also personally?
I would say musically, I'd say I'm going to go back to Paul Hoagland again. He had a huge influence on me. Someone that I know personally had a huge influence on me. Just seeing his approach and how good he is at music, and it was never intimidating. It was always inviting. He could literally play any instrument as good as anybody I know. It's just a thing. He wouldn't agree with that, but I agree with myself on that. And so I learned a lot with him, and I mean, and also with Tim. You know, the people that are in my world. You know,
It's great.
But there, you know, there's obviously the outside influences of stuff I wanted to try to learn and play, and you know, my guitar heroes and all that stuff. But I'd say up close and personal, those, you know, guys that I've played with and connected with.
How about personally? Who's been the biggest influence on you?
My wife Carolina has been a big influence for sure. She's definitely. We've been together for over 20 years, cool. and I like to say we both have learned a lot from each other. I've probably learned more from her. Those kind of things of like taking more charge, like being more confident, being able to do things that, you know, when you tell yourself, oh, I can't do that, or I've never done that. It's like, she doesn't buy into that crap. She came from a different country when she was a little kid, and she came and took advantage of being in a country that has the opportunity that we have in it. And that's one part of it. She's just got a spirit that's very strong too. So I'd say personally her for sure. I'd say my mom for sure too.
She's still around, your mom?
Yeah, she's still.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. I feel fortunate, and yeah, her ability, her love and compassion side was definitely influential, and a lot to learn there.
Very cool. You have any hobbies outside of music?
Hobbies. I mean, I like to be in the outdoors. I like to hike. We do there's a music river trip that I do with Tim every year. We go on the river for 6 days out in Idaho, and so I like to be in the outdoors. And
that's beautiful out there, man.
You know, I like to do stuff around the house, and you know, no other huge big hobbies, but simple things like that.
2 more questions. Toughest decision you've had to make, or most difficult thing you've had to do?
Okay. I'd probably go back to the hiatus.
Yeah.
You know, that was a very tough decision, but the cool thing is that I was able to get to a place where I knew it was the right answer. I've had to make decisions where I wasn't sure if it was the right answer, and that's more scary. But for that one, I really knew. And but it was tough. It was very tough for the reasons I explained earlier.
And last question, Greg. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that has been intentional, and how much is just a natural part of aging?
I think I've gotten better of not giving a fuck.
Right on, man.
I don't know if that just comes with age, you know, but that spirit, like everybody doesn't have to like me.
Yeah.
That's all right. There's going to be people that don't, and that's cool.
Yeah. Good for you, man. I'm happy for you. It's important.
Yeah,
it's really important.
I think so too.
Really?
I'm fortunate to sort of, you know, get some time to practice that.
Yeah. No, it's good. Hey, what someone thinks of you is none of your business, you know, really, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Hey, first of all, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. I'm glad we got to connect. I'm glad I got to talk with you and get to listen to all your music. I want to tell people some of the stuff you have going on. First of all, it's a bit ways out, but the Hypnic in May, if you're out in California, or if you want to go out there, make sure you get wired to them early. Go to folkyeah.com. Also, Greg's got his new album, his new single, Chamberlain's Trunk. The single and video are coming out October 11th. So that's right around the corner from the time this interview is dropping. Please check it out. Greg's a really great writer. He's got a beautiful voice, and he tears it up on his songs and guitar. So everybody here listening should definitely check him out and like it, whether it's his solo stuff or the Mother Hips or Sensations. Also, the Mother Hips have a live album coming out around Christmas, you said?
Yep.
Want to talk about that?
Not yet.
Okay.
That's
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned.
That's the
There'll be more
teaser.
information on that.
Mother Hips live album Christmas. If you're not familiar with Mother Hips, check them out. Really cool band, very groovy stuff. Greg's got some solo shows coming up again shortly after this interview is going to drop. It's actually like tomorrow. I think this is the 15th. It should drop. The 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. I know 16th. You want to tell the 18th? I know it's at McCabe's.
Yep.
And the
17th is in Morro Bay, which is Central Coast, California. 19th is in Ojai, California. If you go to my website, gregloiacono.com, Mother Hips, all that stuff's up there.
It's on there. Let me spell Greg's name. It's Greg, 1G, Greg, and Loiacono is Loiacano. It's gregloiacono.com.
Loiacono.
Oh, Cono. Why did I spell it wrong?
Yeah, it's hard. There's a lot of vowels in there.
God, I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right.
I'm terribly sorry. It's Greg Loiacono. Loiacono. Yeah, there's a lot of freaking vowels. One, two.
Yeah.
And also, your solo record is coming out January 2020. Is there a
beginning of next? Let's just call it
next year.
Probably more like February or March. I'm trying to finish up everything this month so that we can get a good schedule going for the early.
Dude, I like you. You're this is like Weight Watchers. You're going to be accountable, man. It's not January. It's early.
Yeah. That's right.
What is there a working title or a final title for the record?
No, not yet. I'm getting there, but nothing yet.
That might be a good title. No, not yet. I'm getting there. Actually, that's not a bad title. Anyways, check out Greg's new record. Man, when you come back on the show, I'd love to turn people onto it. So you're more than welcome to do that.
Let's do it.
Let me know. Man, thank you very much for everything. I appreciate it. Hang on, let me wrap up. Any final words of wisdom, man?
No, I just appreciate your time and getting to rap with you. It's been fun.
Man, likewise. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Greg. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed these, please share it on your social media with your friends. Please check out Greg Loiacono's music. Again, I will spell his name, Greg, Loiacono. Check out the Mother Hips, and Greg's new record is coming out early next year, which he'll be back on the show on. And if you're in the Ojai, what is that called? San something area? What do I call? I'm so
near Santa Barbara. It's like Central Coast area, Central Coast, and so Ojai is in Santa Barbara, and Morro Bay is in near San Luis Obispo. It's Central
Coast. If you're in the Central Coast area this week, go check out Greg and go tell him you heard the show, man, and tell him that's it. Tell him you got turned on. And make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Until next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. Greg, thanks for everything.
Yeah, man. Thank you.